Ionia strategies, Ionia strategies, Azir, Lux, Kai'Sa, Yasuo. I know, the meta looks like it's a bit split into two combos that you have to play every time if you want to climb, and it can feel frustrating. I feel frustrating about that, but fortunately, there is a few combos there and there that are niches, but they can be extremely powerful. And today we're going to talk about one combo that you have to play if you have the augment, because let me tell you, this augment has the highest win rate in Challenger Elo, and there's a reason for that. So in this video, we are going to talk about the Ravenous Hunter, the augments that transform Warwick into a real Warwick, if you understand what I mean. So like I was saying here, I'm using the data. For now, we still have it until one day it will disappear, but since we have it, I'm going to use it. And as you can see, I'm sorting only in challengers, and Ravenous Hunter has the highest win rate, and there is a 26.2% win rate, meaning that in challenger lobbies, whenever a challenger picks this guy has more than one chance out of 4 to finish first. That's just insane, just to be clear. What does this augment do? It's very simple. I'm going to zoom in a bit more. So obviously it gives you a Warwick, and then your stronger Warwick. So this is important because it means that double trouble is not that great with this augment, because only strongest Warwick takes or deal damage. He gains 6% attack damage and 6 ability power, so up to 50 times. So just this makes it insanely strong, meaning that he can gain up to 300% attack damage and 300 AP. And also, one last thing, his passive healing is replaced with magic damage on his attacks. So meaning that the more AP he has, the more damage he deals, basically. So to present you this comp, I'm going to use Tacter. So just in case, out of transparency, Tacter is a sponsor of my channel, and I wrote this guy there. It's completely free. You can have access to it. I try to put as many comments and details as possible. I'll put the link in the description, so you can always check it out again if one day you get to have this augment that you want, and you will remember about this video, and you might remember about this website, so you might want to come back and see rapidly how it goes. So the final board that you want to have is to play around 6 challengers. This is very important because Warwick needs to have a lot of attack speed to be able to stack the augment as fast as possible. And then after you want to have 2 juggernauts, it's very easy to activate, and then 2 zone and 3 Ionia. The fact that Warwick has 3 synergies, which are almost all of them relevant. Zone can be sometimes not that great, especially if you have the mod that triggers only if you have if you use your ability, but that doesn't really work well with Warwick. But most of them are really good on Warwick, so that's why Zone is a good addition. If you don't have Zone, just play a valuable unit, remove Echo, and maybe add another Juggernaut, and maybe you can push even level 9 with 4 Juggernauts. About positioning, there are a couple of ideas. You can, if you want, decide to put Warwick slightly behind on the second row. I actually like to put him on first row, as long as he doesn't take the full focus on a strong carry. Let's say that there is no Lux in front of him that will melt my Warwick. In that case, I like to put first row. He will take a bit of damage. He will stack faster than his his augment. And then after, what you really want to have is simply put any defensive stuff on set if you have, any AP stuff on Kai'Sa, and any AD stuff on Yasuo. Because for the late game, you still want to have a secondary carry. Can be Kai'Sa, can be Yasuo, can be both, depending on how many items you have. So I will go into the items a bit later, but one other thing I want to show with this screenshot is that Warwick will deal mostly AD damage. This is important because if you know this, you will understand better all the tier list of the items I will make later. For the game plan, it's very easy to understand. You want to stay level 6 as much as needed until you find Warwick 3. So you will play more or less aggressively. Honestly, with this augment, Ravenous Hunter, you can easily win streak in the early game. Let's say you have the good items, you have a good comp, but you can also decide to open fort. Let's say you don't have the items, you don't have a good board, so you have priority on the carousel to make sure you have the good items for Warwick. Once you're level 6, usually you will push level 6 as stage 3 2. You will roll until you find Warwick 2. That's very important to have Warwick 2 in order to survive the stage 3. And some other 2-star units, like if you can have set 2, area 2, and some and Samira 2 and Echo 1 and Kalista 1, then you should be strong enough to win fights actually during stage 3. And then after you will get back your econ to 50. And once you've done that, you will slow roll every turn until you find Warwick 3. Very, very easy to play if you manage to have the good setup and the good items. Also, I started this set, a newsletter, where every Monday I send to everyone subscribed to it a free meta snapshot. The idea behind it is to make you focus on the 5 best comp of the week so you can climb without thinking about scouting, checking the stats, checking what are the best items, checking what are the best augments, everything I give you in this weekly meta analysis. I will put the link in the description. The first item that you want on Warwick is something that will make him sure he can attack no matter what. And the best item for that is Quicksilver. I'll be honest, there's a huge difference between Quicksilver and not having one. You can literally lose fights, but just because Warwick gets CC'd all the time. If you can't have QSS, you can try to go with RFC. The fact that you give one range to Warwick allows him to dodge a fair amount of attacks, of CC, and also he will lose less time walking around trying to find a target. And finally, this is low for me, but if you have nothing, you can still build another Edge of Night, but I'll be honest, this is not as good as QSS or RFC. The second item you want on Warwick is very simple, is Sustain. Since on the moment it says that the passive of Warwick, which is what makes him heal while he attacks, is transformed into damage. So meaning that now, with this augment, Warwick will not be able to sustain, will not be able to survive. So you need to build survivability with Bloodthirster. This is the best. It gives a lot of shield when you have Warwick 3. Or you can go with Gunblade. That's more utility, even though I still prefer Bloodthirster, but it's not that bad. And finally, you have Hajj, which I don't really like, but again, it's like the Edge of Night. If you have nothing else, build it. It's better to have an item that's not optimized rather than not having an item. And finally, the third build you really want to have on Warwick is to amplify his damage, because now he can attack without being bothered. He can sustain, so he should not die that fast. Now you just want him to deal more damage. Remember when I told you that Warwick is dealing mostly physical damage from his basic attacks? This is why I want to build Runan. I think this is the best item and a lot of people are sleeping on this item. I really love this item right now in this meta because it just allows Warwick to attack someone that's behind, that's really hard to reach at the beginning of the fight, and dealing tons of damage because he has like 300, 400 AD, something like this, when everything is fully stacked. And that means that since he has 6 challengers, he can literally delete targets one by one behind. So all the squishy units, all the carries can die before the tank dies. So really, really strong item. The second is Ginzu. I really like this one, especially if you have a QSS. If you have a QSS, he can stack the Ginzu super fast. He will get the 50 stacks even faster. And that's just impossible to stop it. It's impossible. I honestly saw it. I used it. It's possible. Then Giant Slayer is really nice. You have a lot of base damage now, so having something that can amplify it by 25%, yeah, I take it every day. And finally Titan, I think I used it in one more game and I feel like it wasn't that great. The only thing I really like about Titan is giving a bit more defenses to Warwick, because the thing is you're already stacking 50 times, something that gives you 300% AD, 300 AP. Who cares about like having 50 more? I mean, it's nice, but that's just not enough. I prefer to have this. I prefer to have this that can literally increase the damage by 50%. This increases the damage by 25%. And this increases the damage by... It's hard to tell, but if you can stack, by a lot. The last thing I want to talk about are the augments. So obviously in Tune 1, you have to take Ravenous Hunter. So I'm talking about the augments you can have at stage 3-2 and at stage 4-2. So if you have silvers, you have a couple of ones that are really great. Unified Resistance gives more defenses to Warwick, so he's less likely to get one shot. I take it every day. Cybernetic Leech gives a bit more Omnivamp. I take it every day. Because Warwick can still get bursted down if he doesn't have enough sustain, or if someone is using something like Morello, so Warwick cannot sustain properly. And finally, Indomitable Wheel. If you don't have a QSS, take it. If you have a QSS, don't take it. Simple as that. So for the gold augment, you have Ravenous Hunter, obviously. Another one I really like to have is Scoped Weapons. I think this one, if you have this, you're not forced to have a QSS as well, just like I have in my game. So honestly, if you have this and you don't want to build a QSS, you just pick this, or just like I said for Indomitable Wheel. Defensive Dash allows your Warwick to have a little shield whenever he dashes, and he will dash a lot, don't worry about that. So honestly, you have a lot of value with it. On the gold augment, I give another 3, because you have a good amount of good augments for this comp. You have Adrenaline Rush, Juggernaut. Warwick is a Juggernaut, will deal more damage, and he will deal even more damage if it decreases below 50% HP. So the Juggernaut Crest, it allows you to easily unlock 6 Challenger and 4 Juggernauts as your comp, so very, very powerful. And Healing Orbs is another way to give Warwick more heal, in case that, I don't know, for instance, you're forced to play with Hush, so you need to have a bit more heal to make sure that Warwick has at least a good amount of sustain to survive longer. And finally, for the Prismatic, you don't have that many Prismatic that are great, but Think Fast, obviously, great at 3-2, so you can reroll for Warwick 3 in 3-2. And then Cybernetic Leech, same as the Silver. Arm Assist, also same, like the idea is to have more heal and heal more damage from it. If you think about it, Ravenous Hunter is kind of hard to get it, but if you get it, you can have extremely fun while also having a very, very competitive comp. And I think this is actually one of the best things in this meta right now, where it helps you to have a kind of a breath and try to think about something else than just Azir, Lux, Kai'Sa, Yasuo. So I hope you will have this augment in your choices in the next games, because honestly it's so fun to play. And in the meantime, make sure to subscribe to my newsletter, because I'm going to give you a lot of good information every week. See you at the top of the ladder.